Hello everyone and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel.
Brooke hadn't meant to eavesdrop. She had only come by the marina to drop off a file Nick had left at Forrester Creations, something about shipping delays, routine paperwork, but as she stepped onto the dock, the overcast sky casting the world in soft, uncertain light, she heard voices from inside the yacht. Nick's voice, hoarse, not his usual gruff sarcasm, but something weaker, more brittle, and a doctor's tone, clinical but laced with the kind of heavy sympathy Brooke had come to know too well from years of heartbreak and crisis. She froze, her hand still holding the file folder, her breath suspended as if her body already knew what her mind hadn't yet processed. Stage 4, she heard the doctor say. The chemotherapy has slowed the progression slightly, but the metastasis is widespread. We're looking at months, not years. Brooke's heart dropped. Her first instinct was denial, this had to be about someone else, but then came Nick's quiet response, don't sugarcoat it. I can take it. That voice, so flat and resigned, wasn't the Nick Marone she knew, the man who had always faced the world with a sailor's swagger and a gambler's grin. The man who had loved her fiercely, faltedly, and often maddeningly. Her hand trembled. She should go. She should not be here, should not be hearing this. But she couldn't move. It was as if the wind had died and time had stopped. She waited until the doctor left, and only then did she approach the yacht's open door, still in shock. Nick was sitting on the edge of the couch, his shoulders slumped, staring into a half-empty glass of whiskey. The sight of him so diminished, so alone, twisted something inside her. Nick, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. He looked up, startled, then quickly masked his face with that old veneer of indifference. Brooke? What are you doing here? She held out the folder dumbly. You forgot this at the office. Her eyes searched his, and for a moment they just looked at each other, years of history silently crashing between them like waves against the hull. You heard, he finally said. Not a question, just a tired resignation. Brooke stepped inside, closing the distance, and sat beside him. Why didn't you tell anyone? She asked, her voice breaking. Nick gave a bitter smile. What's the point? What can anyone do? I didn't want the pity, the drama, the looks. Especially from Ridge. His name hung in the air like a curse. Brooke inhaled sharply. Ridge doesn't know? Nick shook his head. And I want to keep it that way. He'd turn it into some morality play about karma. Or use it to prove how much better he is at everything. Brooke bristled. She knew Ridge could be judgmental, but this was different. This was life and death. You can't do this alone, she said softly. Nick looked away. I've been alone for a long time, Brooke. That hit her harder than she expected. They had shared so much, a tempestuous love affair, a marriage, heartbreak, reconciliation. And now this. I'm not going to let you die alone, she said. Even if you want to. Nick blinked at her, surprised. Why would you do that? You've got your own life. Ridge. RJ. Your fashion empire. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she placed her hand over his. Because you matter to me, Nick. No matter what happened between us. For a long moment, he said nothing, just stared at their joined hands. The irony, he said finally, is that I used to think cancer was something other people got. Not me. Not the man who survived a plane crash, a shipwreck, Ridge's arrogance. Brooke gave a sad laugh. You always thought you were invincible. Didn't we all? He murmured. Outside, the wind picked up slightly, causing the yacht to sway gently in its berth. It felt like the world was tilting. Brooke looked at him, really looked, his gaunt cheeks, the yellowish tint to his skin, the tiredness in his eyes, and realized how close death really was. You need to tell Jack, she said quietly. Your son deserves to know. Nick winced. He's just a kid. He's your kid. Silence stretched between them again, until Nick finally said, "I don't know how." Brooke nodded. "Then I'll help you." He looked at her with something like gratitude, or maybe just relief. "And Ridge?" he asked. She paused. "Let me deal with Ridge." It was the beginning of a storm neither of them could yet see, but Brooke knew that once Ridge found out, everything would change. Not just between the three of them, but within the tangled web of Forrester loyalties, resentments, and fragile alliances. Ridge would rage, at Nick, at the universe, maybe even at her. But Brooke would stand firm. She had to. For Nick. For Jack. For the love they had once shared. For the man she still cared about, even if it wasn't the way Ridge wanted her to. And in the days that followed, as the secret grew heavier and harder to bear, Brooke found herself torn between the two men who had defined so much of her life, Ridge, her great love, and Nick, her flawed but deeply human connection to something more raw and real. And as Nick's condition worsened, and the truth edged ever closer to the surface, Brooke knew that eventually, the waves would break. Brooke is happy when Ridge tells her to avoid Nick, and Luna contacts Hayes with a gift. The green-eyed monster of Ridge emerges. Ridge questions Nick about his return to Los Angeles at Forrester. Is this a pleasant surprise? It's California time of year, according to Nick. Jack's employment at Forrester International is discussed. Nick gives Ridge props for getting back together with Taylor. He is certain that they are ecstatic. Ridge questions why he's on dry land after the two guys argue. Nick discusses being a single man and striking a balance between career and family. His fate has always been to live at sea. But, Ridge, don't you know about destiny? What? Asks Nick. Ridge informs him that they must return to work because they are busy. Before leaving, Nick gives Brooke a kiss on the hand and remarks on how wonderful it was to see her. Brooke tells a sullen Ridge that she didn't think Nick would be there. He came to see how she was doing and is a close buddy. He has no right to feel jealous, she assures him. Ridge warns her not to associate with Nick, claiming that he is a bad person. She smiles at the thought. Steffi is struggling to cope. Steffi and Taylor enjoy tea at the Cliff House while discussing how kind Liam was to allow the kids use the beach house. They discuss how well Electra gets along with the children. Steffi is simply happy that the children are at last in a secure environment. Taylor inquires about her daughter's ability to handle everything. It seems as though Steffi is always fluctuating between denial, despair, and rage. That's typical, according to her mother. According to Steffi, it isn't and shouldn't be taking place. Liam handles it all with such bravery and composure. His only concern is ensuring their safety. Steffi wants him to avoid being anxious. Taylor holds Bill responsible for this catastrophe. They talk about Finn's struggles adjusting to having a daughter named Luna. Even if he is not at blame, he still feels bad. Steffi finds it unbearable that Luna is obsessed with dating him. It's terrible. She keeps thinking about when Luna will attack once more. Her mother is concerned about the tension, but Steffi is unable to stop it. They talk about how Hayes and Luna will never be biological siblings. Steffi is certain that he never find out who Luna is. Hayes has a present from Luna. Luna observes as Hayes and the other children show their instructor the items they discovered on the sand outside the beach home. Hayes remains outside to get something while the other children file inside. Luna runs over to him right away. I have a present for you. She asks, you want to know what it is? His teacher summons him in after she handed him an origami bird. Hayes reveals the origami to his teacher inside and explains that he intends to write a tale about it. She says she will bring origami paper for everyone. They applaud. Electra shows up. With great excitement, Hayes rushes to her and shows her his bird. Luna sneers as she looks at the origami through the window. Hayes shows his origami crane to his mother and grandmother when Electra gets him home. He reveals that he received it from a nice lady. Steffi tells Electra how appreciative she is of her assistance as he flees. Spending time with her Forrester family makes Electra happy. All Steffi wants is for the children to feel safe and lead regular lives. With Luna and Sheila out there, things haven't been simple. Miss Dillon requests that a stranger look after the kids. Miss Dillon, the teacher, is closing up back at the beach home when she runs across Luna. She assumes she handed Hayes the bird when she sees her holding some origami. She invites Luna to perform as a guest artist in the class. After bringing her inside, the instructor tries to persuade her to return to teach the children. Luna finally gives up. Sunshine is how she introduces herself. Dillon can't wait to tell the children. Luna chuckles to herself. Hope's escalating fears, Luna's twist, and Nick's kiss. Steffi Forrester's world is turned upside down by Luna Nozawa. Nick Marone kisses Brooke Logan, and Hope Logan will be terrified. There are indications of trouble for the week of June 16th. First, the first indications of tension between Ridge Forrester and Taylor Hayes will appear during the week of June 16th to 20th. When Nick resumes dating Brooke, this will be partially because of Ridge's possessiveness. Nick will kiss her and show her how amazing they could be together again once Brooke's ex returns to Los Angeles and shows her all the love she deserves. After Nick's advances, Brooke will obviously need someone to confide in, so she will tell Katie Logan all the thrilling facts and get her opinion on the matter. In the meantime, when Steffi tries to bring Daphne Rose back from Paris, Hope will experience her own intense emotions. Luna stalks Hayes, and Hope fears the worst. Hope will voice her worries about Steffi contacting Daphne about returning, and she will fear the worst about her engagement to Carter Walton. Will Daphne agree that going back to LA is a smart idea, or will she reject Steffi? Hope won't want Daphne to concentrate on Carter and cause more trouble anyhow. Luna will simultaneously monitor Hayes Finnegan until she is prepared to take action. Luna will start to lure Hayes into her trap for kidnapping once she gives him a gift. Isn't the week of June 23 Hayes perfect? Everything points to Luna taking Hayes shortly, which might completely upend Steffi's life by the week of June 23rd to 27th. If Luna calls to make sure she has Hayes, Steffi might realize he's gone and become nervous. Hayes might be used as leverage in Luna's lethal plan against Steffi. Steffi may need to meet with Luna alone and exclude John Finnegan if she wants to make sure Hayes gets out of this predicament. Although Steffi will have to abide by Luna's regulations, there will probably be some chances to outsmart her. Nick and Brooke get closer, and Remy helps find Hayes? Is there anything that Remy Price can tell Sheila Sharp that might help make things better? As viewers will remember, once Remy saw she had a target, he wasn't quite committed to teaching Luna how to shoot. Remy may have the opportunity to atone for his own eerie past by assisting in the search for Hayes. Nick should drive Ridge up the wall while continuing to pull Brooke closer. Ridge will start to wonder if he was wrong to let her go as Brooke and Nick become more intimate. Liam's deteriorating health and Ridge and Taylor's breakup during the week of June 30th. Ridge and Taylor are obviously heading in that route, therefore it's possible that they will split up over the week of June 30th to July 4th. Taylor may feel it's better to let Brooke go since she will have to acknowledge that he will always have a place in Ridge's heart. We must also talk about Liam Spencer and his deteriorating condition. Will Liam eventually follow Hope's counsel and tell his family that he has a terminal illness? In any event, Luna's instability will soon encompass additional characters. As a result of Hayes going missing and Steffi probably going missing to find him, Liam and Finn might end up working together to recover him. At Forrester Creations, tension thickens the air like perfume as Ridge Forrester glares across his sleek designer office at Nick Marone, whose unexpected return to Los Angeles has stirred up a flurry of emotion, suspicion, and old rivalries that never quite faded with time. Ridge, his voice clipped and brimming with subtle disdain, demands to know what exactly brought Nick back to LA now, during this fragile moment when lives, relationships, and secrets seem ready to erupt. Nick, ever the sailor, ever the enigma, gives a half-smirk and answers that it's just that time of year. The California sun calls him home now and again, and besides, Jack is starting at Forrester International, which surely warrants a visit. But Ridge isn't buying the nonchalance. The moment Nick congratulates him on reuniting with Taylor, with that classic Marone glint of mischief in his eye, Ridge's guard slams down like a velvet curtain. Nick adds with a chuckle that they must be over the moon, which only serves to push Ridge's buttons further. The exchange heats up, with both men standing toe-to-toe, the unspoken history between them buzzing like static in the air. Ridge sharply asks what business a man like Nick, born to the sea and chaos, has setting foot on dry land. Nick casually leans against the edge of a desk, his voice dripping with irony as he speaks about the need to balance work and family, even for a man who finds solace in the waves. "But you know about destiny, don't you, Ridge?" he adds, driving the point home, a veiled reference to Brooke and the tangled, unfinished business between them all. Ridge, no longer willing to play host, curtly reminds Nick they're all very busy and ushers him out, but not before Nick, ever the charmer, takes Brooke's hand, kisses it gently, and tells her it was wonderful seeing her again. The door closes behind him, but his presence lingers like a storm cloud. Brooke, slightly flustered but composed, tells Ridge that she hadn't known Nick was coming either. He's just a good friend, and he wanted to check in. Ridge, already brooding, snaps that Nick is anything but a good person. He commands her to stay away from him, his voice low but firm, protective to the point of possessiveness. Brooke's reaction is not what Ridge expects. Instead of bristling or defending herself, she smiles. A small, amused, almost knowing smile, as if Ridge's jealousy is the most ridiculous and flattering thing she's seen all week. She tells him he has no right to be jealous, not after everything, not after all they've been through. Elsewhere, at the Cliff House, Steffi is nursing her own wounds with a cup of tea shared with her mother, Taylor, whose gentle concern can't quite reach the depths of her daughter's disquiet. They talk softly about how kind Liam has been, how generously he offered up the beach house for the kids, and how wonderful Electra has been as a calming influence. Steffi admits that the kids being in a safer environment has taken a load off her shoulders, but the emotional weight hasn't truly lifted. Taylor gently asks how her daughter is coping. Steffi, eyes brimming with a complex cocktail of anger, confusion, and fatigue, admits that she feels like she's barely hanging on, that she's swinging wildly between denial and grief, trying not to let it show. Taylor assures her that's a normal response to such trauma, but Steffi insists it shouldn't be. Nothing about this situation should be normal. Liam, she says, has been the picture of strength, caring only about the children and their safety. Steffi, though, is tortured by worry that he's bottling everything up and that it will one day break him. Taylor sighs, muttering that none of this would have happened if not for Bill Spencer and all the chaos he brought into their lives. Then, the topic shifts again, to Luna. Finn, for all his strength and compassion, has been plagued by guilt ever since the revelation. It's not his fault, everyone says, and yet the emotional toll is evident. Steffi is disgusted that Luna continues to try to push herself into their lives, particularly towards Finn, trying to build something that Steffi is determined to tear down before it can take root. She declares that Hayes and Luna will never be real siblings, not while she has anything to say about it. Her resolve is unwavering. Hayes must never know who Luna really is, and she'll make sure of that. Meanwhile, just outside the idyllic beach house where innocence and danger seem to swirl like the ocean breeze, Luna watches. Her eyes, soft with longing but tinged with bitterness, track Hayes as he plays with the other children, showing off the treasures they've collected from the sand. When the other kids file inside, Hayes lingers, and that's Luna's moment. She rushes over and kneels beside him, her voice a soft coo as she offers him a small paper bird, an origami crane folded with trembling fingers and conflicted heart. "I have something for you." "You want to know what it is?" she whispers, handing him the fragile gift just before his teacher calls him inside. Inside, Hayes beams as he shows his teacher the crane, vowing to write a story about it. The teacher, delighted, promises to bring in origami paper for the whole class so they can all make birds, and the room erupts in cheers. Electra arrives soon after, and Hayes runs into her arms, showing off the crane and chattering about the nice lady who gave it to him. Electra's face darkens with recognition as she catches a glimpse of Luna watching from outside the window, her expression twisted with complicated emotion. Later, back at home, Hayes presents his crane to Steffi and Taylor. He tells them the story of the kind stranger, and Steffi's stomach turns. Electra, trying to smooth things over, says she's just glad Hayes is happy and safe, and Steffi replies that's all she wants: normalcy, stability, and peace for her children. But with Luna lurking and Sheila still a shadow in the background, it feels like a dream always slipping out of reach. That evening, Miss Dillon, Hayes' kind and somewhat naive teacher, is tidying up the classroom when she bumps into Luna again. She sees the origami in Luna's hands and immediately guesses she must have been the one who gave Hayes his special bird. She thanks her, warmth in her voice, and then, perhaps too quickly, asks Luna if she'd consider coming in as a guest artist to teach the kids more origami. Luna is hesitant at first, her eyes darting with panic, but then, something shifts. She smiles, something strange flickering behind her eyes, and agrees. She introduces herself to the teacher not as Luna, but as Sunshine. Miss Dillon claps her hands in delight, saying the kids will be thrilled. Luna laughs quietly to herself, a sound that doesn't quite reach her eyes, and walks away from the schoolhouse, the name Sunshine trailing behind her like a ghost of the person she might have been in another life. The wheels are turning, quietly, relentlessly, and no one, least of all Steffi, knows what's coming next.